Friends, where is my, here it is. I am jumping in here on this Sunday. It is my son's birthday and he's a bit wild from all the sugar at the party, and he is outside with his brother. They're throwing water balloons at each other, and it's winter and they're being really loud, so you'll probably hear that in the background. But what I wanted to do was jump in here and talk to you about the significance of celebrating, why I celebrate. And you will have seen some of the people that I'm working with at the moment in my programs, and actually a few that aren't in my programs but are in this space and see the benefit and know some of the reasons why it is so transformational to celebrate yourself. And you would have seen some of the posts in the group. And then there are some other groups that I'm part of that I help facilitate, and it's something that I implement within those communities as well. And there's shifts almost immediately. There's a deep self-awareness that becomes available almost immediately as we do this exercise. So how this all came about for me was that I have always considered myself to be a high achiever. So I've always been ambitious. I've always wanted to, do my very best. I've always wanted to improve myself. I'm always learning and growing and expanding. And I feel like that if there's one thing I'm absolutely certain of in this lifetime, it is my capacity to, keep on stepping into this, my highest potential, knowing that each time I think, oh yes, I've stepped into a whole new version of me, a whole new and expanded version of me. I know, even though this feels revolutionary and more amazing than it ever did before, I know that there's more layers and there's more levels and more levels. And so that has always been true for me. The challenge for me has been the consistent feeling in the most of my life until about a year or two ago, was this consistent feeling that I was never actually getting there. I never felt satisfied. It felt like I was always moving the goalposts. So even though I had achieved and created many amazing things in my life, the striving and the ambition and the constant focus of what's out there had me missing out on what was actually happening, the joy and the beautiful peace and the fulfillment of my life and of my experiences. And so it has been a dance, and it has been a challenge to really recognize this. And it was being reflected by my husband. A couple of years ago, he was saying, do you really think you need to do another course? Do you really think? And he goes, it's like you're never happy. And that was really an awakening experience. And then a coach that I was working with was talking about this experience of really how we've been kind of taught and we've been conditioned and we've absorbed these kind of beliefs from society and from generations before us that we're of scarcity. We're always trying to move forward to get something that we don't have. And the first step for me was first gratitude. So I started on this, recognition of gratitude, because we know that a gratitude practice actually changes our brain. They've done brain scans to show that when we come into the present moment, into the now, and we actually implement a gratitude practice, it changes our brain and our chemistry in our body. And we know, and how good that feels when we do that. And so the first step for me, actually that was 4 years ago when I started that practice. And I started off with this 28-day, I recommended in my book list. It's the Magic, and it was this 28-day gratitude practice, and every night, you'd start in the day with some gratitudes, and every night I had this rock that they tell you in the book to have next to your bed as an anchor for this gratitude practice. And that really started to shift things for me, because I started to actually recognize and be in the present moment, and then start to expand on this feeling of, wow, yes, this is well, it's the bliss and the alignment and the flow that comes when we come into the present moment. And then if we bring all those feel good chemicals of what we're actually grateful for, and how blessed we are, it expands our heart consciousness. And then the next step with that was I attended a webinar with a coach who talked about this practice of the trap of constantly, being not recognizing where you've come from and not recognizing where you are now, because we're just so focused on, our goals and what we want to achieve, and how we want to feel and what we want to experience. And and so there started this journey of started to celebrate myself, and as a prescribed thing that my coach had given me to do. And as I started to do that process, so many things, I became aware of so many pieces. And now self-awareness is really only possible when we actually stop and be quiet enough to be able to hear ourselves and be able to reflect. So just the process of slowing down and listening to my internal dialogue, and the guidance that was coming through, had me recognize how much I was overworking, how much I was avoiding my feelings by being by being really busy all of the time. So the first piece of awareness that came through for me was, wow, I'm really present to how busy I keep myself to really avoid these feelings of discomfort, of that I haven't achieved my goal yet, and I can't really see even how far I have come and what I've been doing. And then the next piece for me was that the awareness of how uncomfortable it felt to be taking up space all of the time. So in order to celebrate myself, I could just celebrate myself internally. Oh, I'm so proud of myself that I did this. But the real transformation takes place when we actually are witnessed by others in that celebration. So if we start doing that with our partner or our friends, or in a space like this, we get to be aware of the internal dialogue and some of the upper limits or the limiting beliefs that we have around allowing ourselves to take up space. Now, one of the things in my growing my sacred business of supporting women in the way I do, one of the experiences that I was having was when I was in the process of launching an offer and promoting myself. I would do a couple of pieces, do a written post, do a live, do a promotional webinar, and then I would feel like, okay, that's enough. I have taken up enough space. I've spoken enough about myself, and so I'll just go quiet now. But here's the thing: it was, as we know, the whole thing about social media, if we're using it as a platform to share our services with the world, to share our gifts with the world, the algorithms and all the crazy situation and how hectic it is out there, we know that we have to actually promote and be seen more than you normally would if you're in a room of people. So if you're in a room of people, you wouldn't have to go up and tell them 20 times, what you do. But in on the social media platforms, you have to tell people 20 times what it is that you do to really, for them to really receive what it is that you're actually sharing. And so this process of starting to celebrate myself and had me come to the awareness that the reason I'm stopping with in the middle of a launch, I'm stopping my marketing is because of this upper limit comes in for me, and I go, okay, that's enough. People have heard enough from me. Another deep awareness that came through for me was that it was recognizing how much I had actually shifted. So it was only through stopping and listening and really receiving myself and starting to speak about it with, people in my circle and people that love and care about me, and starting to communicate and share the things that I was doing and recognizing them, then I go, wow, my mind is absolutely blown for how much I've shifted. For somebody who was, terrified of public speaking, terrified of difficult conversations, would much rather, internally deal with the angst of something than upset somebody else. The people pleaser was out of control. And there was just so many layers that had me not being my fully expressed and authentic self. And I was only really able to recognize the enormous leaps and shifts and the rewiring that I had done and I was continuing to do by sharing it, by being witnessed by others. And the other one, two more. One is it brings clarity to everything. We get confused. We get into the labyrinths of our mind and we don't really see the forest for the trees. We don't really see what is going on and what our true gifts are. We have to actually be witnessed. We have to share. We have to connect. We have to take up space in order to really see what we're made of and see what our gifts are and experience them for ourselves. And so it's in this journey of unraveling. So it's been the unraveling and the unbecoming of the masks and identities that I had that had kind of been given to me and that had been created over time to protect myself. And as I started to peel them back and really see myself, really see who I am and celebrate those aspects, then I was going, wow, because what happened for me was people were reflecting my gifts to me, but I couldn't see them. So people would talk about, that I am a seer and that I'm so powerful and that they feel like they're having a transformation by being in the space with me. And I was having people reflect that to me, but I couldn't receive it for myself. I couldn't see it for myself because of these patterns of the inner critic and these patterns of not being able to celebrate myself and being the high achiever. And these are all things that we can dissolve and dismantle. Now, regardless of whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, regardless of whether you've had trauma or regardless of all of those pieces, you can heal this stuff. Like, I work with people that have had severe things that I would never even repeat in this space. They are so trauma that they've experienced, and they do this work and just take one foot in front of the other, and the celebrating the self and seeing the self is a very big part of this process. And they are creating major changes in their life and those around them because they're doing this work for themselves. I work with people who, and for myself, like I said, I was absolutely petrified. I remember having a vision of what I wanted to do what my soul desired to experience in terms of impact in humanity, and having a vision of what that looked like. And the version of me that had that vision, it was a much, it was a while ago, it was 20 something years ago, you know, this smaller version of me, and the fragile ego, and had so much to work through. And I was like, that is just, at that time, that is just impossible. That looked, felt, in every sense of the word, absolutely impossible. And the thing is, if you stay connected to your heart consciousness, if you stay connected to your soul's voice, and you connect with your column of ascension, which is your connection to the earth, up through your energy centers and up to your soul star, if you stay connected, and you every day you're connecting with that part of you, and you're giving yourself the space to really see yourself and celebrate yourself, then you will make these incremental changes. These changes will start to take place, and your neural pathways will start to reform. Now, we do the dismantling process. We have a dismantling process and a dissolving process to make the space for the new ways of being, and then and simultaneously we're creating new ways of being by doing them. Now, initially it might feel like that there's no initially it might feel like really uncomfortable, and like you can't really see the results yet. And the whole point of this very long 16-minute video so far is that it's about staying the course. I can't tell you how many, I have told you, because I probably say it in every video, I have wanted to give up many times, because give up on my mission to impact millions of women and have them come into their power and their radiance and do the things that they want to do in their life and that their soul is calling them to do, and help them clear the way so that they can fulfill that. And when you're doing it one at a time, and you're going through all of your stuff that's coming up, and you're like, I just don't even know I don't even know if this is worth it. It is worth it, because what happens is you're plodding away and creating these new neural pathways, and then the big shifts come, then the big leaps start happening, because we start to build momentum, we start to have these big leaps. And so this is an invitation for everyone in this space. There's 122 of you in this space. I'm currently working with about 25 women in my different programs at the moment. So there's nearly 100 of you that are in this space that aren't working with me one-on-one, aren't working with me in one of my programs, but you get to use this space to experience this kind of healing for yourself, this kind of transformation. And it is an invitation for you to celebrate yourself, take up some space, and allow yourself to be seen. Now, this isn't for me, although I get a lot out of the experience of witnessing others in their transformation. I receive so much. And also, if you just sit there and don't do anything, you're not getting what's available to you in this space. And so what is available in this space, every single person in this program is a beautiful, safe, heart-centered soul. And if someone gets through that isn't in that heart frequency, then I remove them from the space. So this is a beautiful, safe space. This is not like the Wild West of Facebook land, where anything's possible out there. This is a beautiful, sacred space in here for you to practice this. Now, the people in my programs who did this, who participated in the 7 consecutive days recently of celebrating themselves, had some huge breakthroughs in the experience, huge breakthroughs of having deeper clarity of what they're here to do, deeper clarity about the programs that they want to share for people. And this permission to be more of who they are, and separating what is that other people's view of them and what is their most authentic self, and hearing their soul voice, and the expansion that happens when we acknowledge ourselves and when we start to take up space. Now, I was going to say caveat is that it's not, if this is not something that you've done before, it can be uncomfortable. You know, I remember the first time I started doing this, and I had a vulnerability hangover after I did it and wanted to delete the video. And I was just expressing myself, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, as if these people want to hear what I have to say. And this was a story for me. So it's about being present to what comes up for you after you share what you share. And the story that would come up for me was, I shouldn't have shared that. No one wants to hear what I have to say. And so it helped me have a deeper understanding of some childhood wounding that I got to go and give some more love to and some more healing to break through that. And so now what I know to be true is, it's not about what people, it's not about that no one wants to hear what I have to say. What it is for me, it is that this is my soul expression, and those who are aligned with this soul expression will receive from that, and those who aren't won't. And so you have an opportunity to receive some of your own medicine and do this and do this experience and celebrate yourself, and choose to do it for 7 days in a row, because something magical happens at about the halfway mark where you think, I don't want to do it, you know, and be present to the stories that are coming up. And a deeper invitation is to share that resistance, because there is some powerful medicine for yourself to be received. Now, last thing, you don't pay to be in this program. So because it's free, it's easy to go, you know, it's free and it doesn't matter. But the medicine and the growth and the healing and the transformation that I have received in free offerings, people's free offerings, has been priceless to me, because I show up as if I'm paying for that thing. I show up knowing that that person that's facilitating that space, their energy and their wisdom is valuable. And so if you show up here as if you are paying for this space, you will receive a lot out of it. And final, I just said final, in November, 9th to the 12th of November, there is a magical retreat in Sunshine Coast in Queensland called Wise Women. And this is the juice that we will be, this is one tiny drop of the juice that we will be doing through the time together, the 3.5 days together. It will be an expansive, nourishing, divine, you know, beautifully taken care of in the most picturesque location with women, and you know, with a beautiful posse of women, and you know how the magic available when you bring powerful women together who are ready to fully step into their wise woman, you know. And I've always felt like a wise woman, but there has been, as in even when I was really young, but then there's levels that we can step into, more and more and more and more of deep reverence for who you are as a soul and as a person, deep acceptance and love for your body, unlocking and clearing your throat and voice so that you can really express your soul's expression through the instrument of our voice, and being able to have a deep connection with your guides and such profound trust in what you're doing, so that there's just this profound knowing and certainty in every step that you take, that you're not in questioning all of the time. because that's exhausting. And so send me a message if you would like the details of that beautiful retreat. And we would be honoured. Rachel and I are running that together, and we have some beautiful facilitators that will be supporting us that we've both worked with before. And so it is going to be a divine space. Happy Sunday afternoon. I will end actually, I think it's the early hours of Saturday for some of you who are on the other side of the world. Have a beautiful day or night, and I will speak with you soon. Bye-bye.